Watches are more than mere time-keeping devices, they are a fascinating fusion of craftsmanship, engineering, and style. These miniature marvels, worn on wrists around the world, serve a dual purpose, a functional tool for tracking time and a timeless fashion statement. Throughout history, watches have evolved from simple sundials to intricate mechanical wonders, and today, they come in an astonishing array of designs and functionalities. In this exploration, we delve into the captivating world of watches, uncovering their rich history, the artistry behind their creation, the innovation that drives them, and the enduring allure that keeps them ticking through generations. The history of the well-known Rolex watch company began more than 110 years ago. Today, the brand tops the list of companies with the best reputation, is the most prestigious in the watch industry, and Rolex products are the most counterfeited, which also attests to the company's immense popularity. All these achievements are not accidental. The brand's history shows how Rolex consistently earned all of its accolades. In its early days, the company worked diligently to establish its reputation, and eventually, its reputation worked in its favor. Analysts acknowledge that Rolex watches may not be the most beautiful, fashionable, or even the most expensive to produce, but sellers say, for every 10 buyers of other brands, there are 50 who come to the store specifically for Rolex. Rolex was founded in London in 1905 by the German Hans Wilsdorf and his relative Alfred Davis. The first had the idea and the plan, the second had the money. The brand was named Wilsdorf and Davis, and the WND logo adorned their watches. The products were assembled in London from Swiss components. Before the early 20th century, men did not commonly wear wristwatches, considering them a fashionable accessory, and thus, a prerogative of women. Gentlemen preferred pocket watches, believing that the small size of wristwatches simply couldn't accommodate a high-quality mechanism. Hans Wilsdorf had to change their perception. It was a risk, but the victor became a pioneer and made history in the watch industry. In 1910, after 45 days of testing, Hans Wilsdorf's products received a chronometric accuracy certificate for the first time in the history of wristwatches. 4 years later, the mechanism was awarded a Class A designation, a distinction previously reserved for marine chronometers. By this time, Wilsdorf had changed the company's name to Rolex, a name that, according to the most popular version, was simply a random assortment of letters. Allegedly, the founder's primary requirement was for the name to be sonorous and fit entirely on the watch dial. The word Rolex satisfied both of these criteria. World War I unexpectedly boosted the popularity of Rolex. Soldiers found wristwatches far more convenient to use than pocket watches. This event defined the company's initial target audience, men in professions such as pilots, explorers, sailors, and divers who found pocket watches cumbersome. Catering to their needs, the company began advancing its scientific research. However, during the war, Wilsdorf's German origins became an issue, and the prices of parts increased. Therefore, the founder of Rolex decided to relocate to Switzerland. The brand's headquarters opened in Geneva, where watch assembly still takes place today, and the factory for producing parts is in the city of Bienne. Rolex is one of the few companies that completely manufactures all watch components without sourcing anything from other firms. In 1926, the company introduced watches with a hermetic oyster case, which became the world's first waterproof and dustproof timepieces. The armored case is known for its reliability, as it is nearly impossible to break or scratch, unlike the steel strap. However, customers were initially skeptical of the advertising claims, so the company needed to provide tangible proof of the uniqueness of its product. Learning that Englishwoman Mercedes Gleitze was planning to swim across the English Channel, Rolex representatives asked her to take their watches along. She hung them around her neck and embarked on a 10-hour swim. The prolonged exposure to water had no adverse effects on the watch's mechanism. This incident became the best and the first Rolex watch advertisement, laying the foundation for the company's marketing strategy. In the future, Rolex would repeatedly test its watches with athletes in racing cars, submarines, airplanes, underwater, in the mountains, and in the air. In the mid-20th century, the company decided to test its watches with civilian aviation pilots who crossed time zones and needed to know the time in multiple parts of the world simultaneously. Rolex was determined to prove that their products were capable of the precision upon which people's lives could depend. Among the first to test the watches were pilots from the American airline Pan American. The next challenge for the brand, after waterproofing and dustproofing the watch case, was the development of a self-winding mechanism. In the 1930s, the company invented the automatic winding mechanism, the watch rotor. Now, watches could be wound by any movement of a person's wrist. Rolex immediately patented the invention and set competitors back by decades in their attempts to create a similar mechanism. This is how precision and reliability became the main characteristics of Rolex watches. In 1945, Rolex watches began to count not only minutes but also days. The dial featured a date indicator, and later the company added a day-of-the-week indicator in the same location. Subsequently, almost all watch manufacturers adopted this new development, but the credit goes to Rolex for pioneering it. Discoveries and scientific innovations allowed Rolex to become a leader and trailblazer in watchmaking. However, the company itself has done and continues to do everything to create a corresponding image, even if it contradicts market norms. One of Rolex's main principles is pricing. The brand sets prices at its discretion, regardless of competitors. Consequently, Rolex watch prices serve as a benchmark for other manufacturers. Rolex never offers discounts, doesn't provide loyalty cards to regular customers, and doesn't hold sales. Exceptions are made when brand dealers offer discounts due to their own financial difficulties. Rolex customers are willing to buy watches at the set prices even during economic crises, as evidenced by market indicators. Rolex has an exclusive distribution network, consisting of only a small number of jewelry stores. Typically, these sales outlets are located in prestigious areas, and the stores themselves have an excellent reputation. Limited access to their products is also one of the company's strategic decisions. Despite the convenience and popularity of online shopping, Rolex watches cannot be purchased on the internet. The company has a website that provides information about their watches and new collections, but it does not offer online purchasing functionality. Some dealers in different countries may offer online sales through their own outlets, but Rolex encourages customers to visit physical stores. Clients must try on the watches, touch and inspect them. They cannot be selected solely based on online images. The company has also narrowed its mass advertising channels. Rolex is hardly promoted on television or radio, and the brand does not participate in broad advertising campaigns, such as those during events like the Super Bowl. Representatives of the company state that their target audience simply does not watch such events. A Rolex buyer is someone with the means to purchase watches ranging from $5,000 to $100,000 or more. Therefore, Rolex advertisements can be found at golf and tennis tournaments, yacht regattas, Formula One races, skiing and equestrian competitions. Additionally, the company presents its products at events celebrating the launch of new sports cars. The primary message in Rolex watch advertisements is that their customers are wealthy, attractive, lead active and interesting lives. Rolex watches are positioned as a symbol of success. Rolex is the most secretive watch company. The company manufactures over 2,000 wristwatches a day, totaling 650,000 to 800,000 a year. However, the demand consistently exceeds the supply, especially when it comes to cheap imitations. The market for fake Rolex watches amounts to around 40 million units annually. The Rolex Submariner is one of the most frequently counterfeited watch models in the world. To protect their products, the company employs unique marking. Once, this even helped the police solve a murder case. In 1995, financial analyst Albert Johnson Walker fled to England from Canada, where he faced charges of fraud, theft, and money laundering. In 1996, while on a fishing trip, he killed Ronald Platt and disposed of his body in the sea. When the body was discovered, the only thing that could help identify the victim was his Rolex watch. Each Rolex watch has a serial number with special marking. With this information, the British police were able to identify the watch's owner. Thanks to the waterproof Rolex case, being in the sea did not affect the watch's functionality, and detectives could determine Platt's time of death. Soon after, Walker was arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment for murder, where he remains to this day. In the first novel about James Bond, author Ian Fleming, when describing the appearance of Agent 007, gave preference to Rolex watches. During the film adaptation, the production team encountered difficulties. Rolex refused to provide their products for filming, and the film's budget did not allow for the purchase of a new pair of watches. So, one of the creators of the film took off his own Rolex from his wrist and gave it to the lead actor, Sean Connery. Those were Rolex Submariner watches. In real life, Rolex ambassadors include explorers, pilots, and athletes. Among them are golf champion Tiger Woods and tennis superstar Roger Federer. The contract amount in 2012 was $15 million per year. Renowned director James Cameron also participated in a Rolex advertising campaign. The creator of Titanic revealed that he acquired his first Rolex over 2 decades ago. He wore them while filming Terminator 2, and even used them while descending in a submersible during the Titanic expedition. In brand promotion, the future U.S. President, General Dwight David Eisenhower, was spotted wearing Rolex watches. In 1951, in celebration of producing 150,000 watches, the company presented a Rolex Datejust to Eisenhower with the engraving DDE and 5 stars. Eisenhower appeared on the cover of Life magazine wearing these watches. Another Rolex model, the Rolex Day-Date, became more widely known as the Rolex President, watches featuring both date and day of the week indicators in a case made of 18-karat gold or platinum. Lyndon B. Johnson was the first U.S. president to wear this watch model. In 1966, they cost $1,000, which, when adjusted for inflation, is equivalent to $7,400 today. On the same night when Marilyn Monroe sang her famous birthday greeting, "Happy Birthday, Mr. President," to John F. Kennedy, she gifted him a Rolex Day-Date watch engraved with the words, "Jack, with love as always, Marilyn." Kennedy ordered to get rid of the watch, but in 2005, it appeared as an auction item and was sold for $120,000. Another Rolex president enthusiast is businessman Warren Buffett, who bought them several decades ago and remains loyal to them to this day. Once, the investor even joked that he would gladly buy the Rolex company itself, saying, "They know my number. But they don't call," Buffett remarked. In 2013, the brand built an advertising campaign around celebrities who preferred Rolex over all other watches. Among the 10 well-known individuals were Rolex brand ambassadors Tiger Woods and Roger Federer. However, there are those who chose Rolex not because they were paid to do so: Pablo Picasso, Elvis Presley, Martin Luther King, Sophia Loren, Robert De Niro. The campaign slogan stated, "They don't just tell time, they tell history." In that year, the brand spent nearly $61.5 million on advertising, once again, since 2000, topping the list of watch manufacturers with the largest advertising budgets. This is one of the few financial indicators that have made it into the press. Currently, Rolex company shares are not publicly traded on stock exchanges, which, according to Swiss law, gives the brand the right to not disclose financial reports. In this video, we've uncovered the captivating world of Rolex watches, from their historical journey to their iconic status today. From their innovative craftsmanship to their association with famous figures, Rolex has left an indelible mark. Rolex isn't just about telling time, it's about telling a story. Whether it's Marilyn Monroe's gift to President Kennedy or Warren Buffett's loyalty, Rolex embodies excellence. If you enjoyed this exploration, like, share, and subscribe for more captivating content. Thanks for watching.